source of the blessing. The Lord, capital L-O-R-D. Now that's Jehovah in the Hebrew. We see that when Moses encountered God, God revealed himself as Jehovah for the very first time. And in the Old Testament, it's translated capital L-O-R-D. Whenever you see capital L-O-R-D in the Old Testament, that's Jehovah in the Hebrew. Okay? It means the self-existent or eternal one. Jehovah means the self-existent one or eternal one. In other words, he's self-existent. It doesn't take anything for him to survive. He just is existence itself. People say, well, you know, I know that God created everything and made everything, but who made God? Nobody made God. He exists by himself. And he is eternal. Matter of fact, the Bible speaks of him and says that he is from eternity and lives all through eternity. There's no beginning and there's no ending when we talk about God. And his name is Jehovah. It also says that the Lord bless you and keep you. That word keep means to hedge about as with thorns. Okay? That is to guard, generally to protect, attend, mark. Do you know that God's mark is on you as a Christian? He's marked you, right? You ever have a bunch of stuff and you want to mark one to make sure that you don't lose track of it? How about marked cards, right? Matter of fact, even Revelation tells us that we have a mark on us. Right? Jesus is written on us, spiritually speaking. Okay? We have his mark. And the definition goes on to say that it means to look, observe, preserve, regard, reserve, save, and watch. The Lord bless you and the Lord keep you. And then it says, may his face shine upon you. This signifies relationship and communication, right? Whenever we see somebody's face in our face, that means they're communicating to us, right? You know, you ever get into somebody's face? You do that because you want to communicate something to them, right? Well, when the Bible talks about God's face, it talks about relationship, you know? And you ever know somebody where their face just shines, you know? They meet you and they just smile and they're just shining, right? God's face is shining towards you as his child, as his precious child. When he looks on you, he's smiling. Amen? You ever do something and you look at somebody and you realize, I didn't get their approval. May his face shine upon you. He loves you. It speaks of the relationship that you have with. It speaks that he's communicating that he loves you. And be gracious to you. Wow. What are the signs of God's grace? Things like salvation. The fact that we're saved throughout all of eternity because of what Jesus Christ did on the cross. Provision. God's provision for you. Healing, restoration, all these things are manifestations or signs of God's unconditional, undeserved, unmerited favor and love. Right? All these things come through that channel. The Lord be gracious to you. And I love this definition of grace. Grace is getting what you do not deserve. Right? Have you ever had somebody give you a gift and, you know, you were a bad boy or a bad girl, but yet they gave you the gift anyway? Wow, that doesn't happen in many homes, right? You know, kids are particularly nice during this time of year because on Christmas they ain't getting nothing. Santa ain't coming to this house, right? Anyway, everything that God gives us is by grace through faith. It is a free gift. In other words, we don't have to earn it. We don't have to earn our salvation. The Lord be gracious to you. Amen. And see, that grace should transform us. That grace should make us act differently. That grace should make us compassionate and loving and to speak words of life and so forth. As Peter says, that grace should transform us. Anything that you believe is from God, and no other source, because grace is getting what you do not deserve. And then it says, May he turn his face towards you and give you his what? Peace. His peace. That's the goal. The goal is peace. And the Bible has a lot to talk about peace. But note this somewhere. The very first step in acquiring peace or a peaceful life is to make your peace with God. Amen. Make your peace with God. Amen. Because if you and him are at odds, there is no peace. Right? He's provided everything through Jesus Christ in order for you to make your peace with him. Accept him, receive him, surrender to him, stop fighting him, and allow him to hug you, allow him to embrace you. Be at peace with him. Make your peace with God. Amen. And then after that, the peace of God will just flow into your life. Right? Just flow. That's the first step. Make your peace with God. And that is the goal. The goal is peace. Now also, as we get ready to give a blessing to our dear brother and sister, and you know, since this is your last day, we're going to take advantage of this day. we're going to bless you, and we're going to speak this because if the Bible teaches it, that means I believe it's true, right? So when we send you off with a blessing, it's going to make a difference. Now, go back to the New Testament. Back to Acts chapter 20. And this is the Apostle Paul with the Ephesian elders. And the way he's talking, it's like they were going to go, but basically he was going to go, right? He was with them, and then he was going to take off. And you know what he said in that passage? Because he's got to continue to spread the gospel. He said, "You're not going to see my face anymore. I'm leaving." And you know what? You'll see in that chapter that got to them. They started crying and weeping because they realized they weren't going to see Paul anymore. But Paul, before he leaves, he gives them this blessing. This is a blessing for the purpose of ministry. Acts chapter 20. Are you there? Yeah. So after conversing with the elders in Ephesus, the Ephesian elders, he says this in conclusion. "Now I commit you to God. I surrender you to God and to the word of his" what? Grace. The word of his grace, which can, number one, build you up. Yes. The word of his grace can build you up and give you an inheritance, there's that word again, among those who are sanctified. Okay? So this is a blessing to go, a send-off, if you will. Now let's break this